Welcome, guys, to the Citadel GrayLine. We're glad to be back after a week off. My name is Kyle Weaver. I'm here with my co-host Jeff Hartsell from the Post and Courier, and there's a lot to talk about. As you just walked in, you told me a little bit about the Wofford longtime coach Mike Ayers is retiring today, so we'll talk a little bit about that, as well as Coach Houston got a 10-year extension with James Madison University, which I know a lot of people, including myself, were expecting him to make the jump to a bigger school. Just like he kind of did with the Citadel JMU, I was expecting the next step, as well as we have our current Citadel head coach, Coach Thompson, joining us on the show, and we're excited to talk about a little bit of recruiting with him, a little bit about the offseason, about this season, and just about what we can expect for the future for the Dogs. So a very exciting show. And
it's that time of year where there's a lot of coaching news.
Right.
Coaches getting hired, fired, and signing extensions, so a lot to talk about.
Exactly. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back, and we'll just go ahead and start talking about the coaching situation of the SoCon and just what we can expect and how that's going to affect the Citadel football team. Welcome to the Citadel Gray-Line. Again, my name is Kyle Weaver. I'm here with Jeff Hartsell. We're here at the Charleston Sports Pub in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Jeff, the biggest news today is Mike Ayers retiring from Wofford football.
Right.
So why don't you go ahead and tell us what you know so far?
Yeah, after a distinguished 30-year career, much of that at Wofford, over 200 wins. Of course, they won the SoCon championship this past season.
Great season.
And won a couple of playoff games as well. So just a fabulous career for Mike Ayers, and his teams are always one of my favorites to watch. They played so hard for him over the years and so consistent. After they made the jump from D2 to the Southern Conference, only really a few down years in that transition, and then they emerged as sort of a SoCon power. And in a lot of ways, Wofford, and some coaches have told me this over the years, Wofford was the program that the Citadel wanted to be and wanted to model itself after, with that triple option and always a stout defense. So it'll be interesting to see where Wofford goes from here. The natural candidate, you would think, is Wade Lang, the offensive coordinator, who's been Mike Ayers' right-hand man for many, many years. If they want to keep it inside and keep whatever they can of the Ayers magic, then I think he would be the way to go.
Right. I mean, I don't see why they would not do that right
don't
now. I mean, this team, I mean, Mike Ayers is recruiting on top. I mean, he is leaving on top. And, 2 times he's made the playoffs. He's won playoff games the last 2 years. I mean, he's got a young D-line, a young team full of talented guys. So, it seems that he is leaving the program on a great note. And whoever's going to take over that job is going to take over a program that is ready to win and ready to do big things if it continues. So I would definitely, just like Citadel did with Coach Thompson, hire in staff and keep what's going on in the program going.
I would think with Wade, if they hired Wade Lang, there would be like almost zero transition there, except for Mike Ayers moving his stuff out of the office.
It's weird. I was talking to, started hanging out with a Wofford player, played before my time, so he was a senior when I was still in high school. But so we played, let's just say 8-9 years ago, and he was talking about Mike Ayers, and he's like, Mike Ayers is one of the greatest motivators there is. He said, there's some coaches who are just great, phenomenal coaching minds, and then there's great motivators. And to take nothing away from his coaching abilities, which obviously he was a great coach, but said Mike Ayers' specialty was motivating the team. And he was just talking about how he's just a great motivator and always was motivating the guys. And another guy who, I would say that same thing as an offensive player again. And Mike Houston is a defensive mindset. So I didn't have that one-on-one time with Mike Houston and coaching-wise, but he was also a great motivator. And he just signed, we'll segue into that, he just signed a 10-year extension with James Madison University. So tell us what that means for him and his future.
Well, his name would always come up in coaching searches at sort of higher FBS or mid-level FBS schools, and maybe he might have been involved slightly at Tennessee or something, at least as far as rumors go. But he signed a 10-year extension with James Madison. The financial terms were not released. But what it basically means is James Madison and Mike Houston are committed to each other for the near-term future. And, James Madison is eyeing a move up to FBS itself. So obviously they think Mike Houston is the guy to take them through that transition if that comes about. But, all that really matters is the buyout number, right? If some bigger school wanted to hire Mike Houston, they could do it. They would just have to pony up whatever buyout is involved in a 10-year contract.
Right. So from a guy who I don't really know about contracts, but a 10-year extension, you have to pretty much buy out the remainder of the contract.
I would think so, yeah.
So, that's why they wanted it for 10 years.
And assume he's making maybe $400,000 a year. That could be ever how many years are left on that contract.
Right. So I'm assuming he's probably going to be making more than that because, if he's willing to say, hey, look, I'm successful. I'm a hot coach right now, and I'm going to lock in for 10 years. I would assume, that would be, he would be very satisfied with his pay and say, hey, I'm not going to get much better at another program, as well as he knows JMU is going to make that jump. And, maybe there's some incentives there as well. But very happy for him, very happy for his family, very happy for all the Citadel coaches who are up there, Coach Tesh, Coach Weaver. That's a big move.
I saw a video clip after the announcement, and he says his family's very happy there. The kids are thriving in school, and they found a church that they really love and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So he seems to be really happy, and he's 27-1 as James Madison's coach. That is incredible.
Right.
Already won one national championship and playing for a second.
Right.
So
and it looks like they're playing well. Let's talk about the playoffs. It looks like unfortunately Wofford lost last week. They lost
42-10 at North Dakota State.
Right. So, it happens. They get to that level. Those guys, North Dakota State's been North Dakota State for a long time and has been in the national championship contention forever. So, they lost to a very good team, but a very good season.
I was reading Todd Shaughnessy from the Spartanburg paper, who does a great job covering Wofford, and he says just another level, North Dakota State. That level is a different level than Wofford and the SoCon. So maybe there's an area there between FBS and FCS. Those top FCS teams like North Dakota State are almost, by all intents and purposes, an FBS type program.
And we've seen that when James Madison beats teams that like East Carolina. They say East Carolina is a mid-major, I would say. Do you agree with that?
Sure.
I would say it's a mid-major, and you say JMU is now a premier FCS school. So look, they went up there and they beat them. I think
Mike's only loss at JMU is to North Carolina.
Right.
So
look, that's a good ACC school. So I think that, and then you look at North Dakota, they go up and beat Kansas State a few years ago. There's always FCS teams at the top of the division upsetting an FBS team. So I definitely think that premier upper conference is there's a very slight difference.
That Missouri Valley Conference, that is a tough league.
Yep.
And, of course, the CAA is a tough league in football, too.
Right.
So,
and then, you could say, when we were our 2015, when we beat Carolina, we were one of the premier teams, you could say. We would say we were at that level. And then you could say, an bad SEC school is probably a mid-major team that year. Maybe as good, probably not. But
maybe.
But, still.
There's no reason for an SEC team to ever lose to an FCS team. It takes a special FCS team and a struggling SEC team to make that happen, and you guys proved to be one of those special teams.
Yeah, and very happy for both those coaches. Glad we're not in the coaching hunt right now. I know the Citadel has been through that a lot. Any update on the AD situation?
No, there won't be until General Rosa retires or his replacement is named. General Rosa has made it known that. And he's the Citadel School President, John Rosa, has made it known that the new president will hire the new athletic director.
Okay.
So, and General Rosa will be in office through the end of the school year, so to like May 2018. His replacement could be named before that, so something could happen
I mean, there has to be.
Before that's
a long time for a school not to have an athletic director.
But Robert Acunto is in place as the interim AD, and he's done that before between Larry Leckenby and Jim Center. He filled that role as well. So I think the department's in good hands with Rob Acunto, and the only issue outlaying right on the table right now is a new volleyball coach. And I haven't heard anything about that, but that's the only sort of open issue right now other than the day-to-day running of the department.
So somebody brought this up to me, and let me just run this by you. What would you say if somebody said Coach D should be the front runner for athletic director?
Coach D, I think he could do a good job. I know Citadel would hate to lose him in his strength and conditioning role.
Right.
Because he's done a fabulous job there. And I would know Brent Thompson would probably hate to lose him to a desk job,
right.
With the way he works with all the athletes in the department. But, sure.
But then you'd be gaining a guy
would do a great job. Sure.
You'd be gaining a guy who would have a complete understanding of what sports teams need to succeed. Mm-hmm. Where money should be delegated to, a guy who has a relationship with the athletes, and he'd be a type guy.
You know Donnell much better than I do. Does he want to put on a suit and hand all the fundraisers?
I don't know that, but he's an assistant athletic director right now, mm-hmm. and he's got a great guy under him, Mike Morgan, who would be a clear upgrade to take over for Coach D, a younger guy with less experience, but a guy who Coach D has mentored, a guy who's been at some pretty cool jobs. He could take over the weight room and really not lose too much in the weight room, as far as you're still going to have Coach D's mentorship, making sure that his Mike Morgan is still on track. And a guy who Coach D's been great at hiring guys in the weight room, and he would be able to go fill those spots, and he could still have his hand in that. But as well as, I don't know if Coach D, I haven't ever talked to him about it. He's never mentioned anything about it. My mom truly brought it up and was like, Coach D would be a great, so.
If Donnell wants to put his name in the hat, I'm sure he would get every consideration. I expect it to be somebody that we don't know right now.
Okay.
The same way Jim Center and Larry Leckenby. I expect it to be somebody like that, unless there is a Citadel person that I'm not aware of, like Fred Jordan or somebody, or Donnell, that's interested. I don't imagine that Fred Jordan is interested at this point. He's having too much fun off in the woods and on the lake and those kind of things. So at one point I think he would have been interested, but I think that time has passed. And I'd be very interested. It's an important hire. There's a lot of work that needs to be done at Citadel as far as facilities and stuff. Signius Hall is showing its age. Johnson Haygood has the other side, the visiting side of Johnson Haygood. That decision has not been made yet for the long-term solution of Johnson Haygood Stadium. So what will that look like?
What will that look like next season?
It'll look the same way it does right now, with temporary bleachers. They do have the beer garden set up over there and the sort of the playground for kids, but I expect it to look pretty much the same as it does right now. There's been no long-term solution that I'm aware of.
So I heard this plan about maybe having some apartments, some businesses over there.
Right.
That one did not get approved.
Not fully by the Board of Visitors, as I'm aware. That's sort of the plan that's out there.
Okay.
But as far as I know, it is not full go yet. So, but that's probably going to be the way they go.
Right. I mean, that makes sense. And, they got to get something going over there.
Yeah.
I would assume, especially with this team that we have right now, I mean, we're going to start winning big games here in the near future again. And
that's one place this gap does cost them, between athletic directors. If it goes on till May or something, that's time lost unless Rob Acunto can move forward with some sort of plan.
Right. But then you have an AD who's going to come in, and he's going to have big decisions made for him, and he's going to have his hands tied, and he's going to be judged off of what they decide to do.
Right.
So, that's tough as well.
And essentially it's up to the Board of Visitors.
Right, because they have to pay checks. So, all exciting news. Let's talk a little bit about Citadel basketball. How have they been since we had their coach on our last show?
They've done well. Preston Parks, the freshman of the year last year, left the team. Was dismissed from the team a couple of weeks ago. So there's been a transition period getting used to playing without Preston. And the very first half they played without Preston was the best half they've played all year. It was against Marist. And it was a 50-something to 30-something lead at halftime. And then they built it up to 20 points in the second half and then lost that game.
Wow.
So that was kind of a crushing defeat, and it carried over. That was in the tournament. Carried over the next day when they lost to, and I can't even remember, UMBC. Yeah,
okay.
They did not play well against UMBC. But then they came back against James Madison from the CAA, not a great CAA team, but they are a member of the CAA, and played another great first half, and then managed to hold on and win that game against a fellow mid-major team. So I think there's some promising signs there. You know, they're gonna miss a player like Preston Parks down the stretch of a close game because he could get his own shot, right? He could get his own basket. They don't have a guy quite like that yet. Tariq Simmons is developing as a freshman. It's going to depend on the whole team stepping up their game. Matt Frierson has had a great season so far, shooting from three-point range, but James Madison really focused on Matt and made it hard for him. So some other guys had to step up in that game. So, the SoCon Wars start later this month, and that'll tell the tale of Duger Bachman's third season.
Right. I was on campus the other day, and I was driving over to the weight room to say hello to Coach D. And, the JMU bus is there with their national championship sticker on the back. And I was like, man, I hope we beat them. And then sure enough, we did. So that was, a big win. I really enjoyed that. And, if I bet you if we would have lost, Coach Houston would have put a little tweet out. But, it was good to get a little victory over JMU. So, that's good. And then baseball, what's their progress? How's their season? Have they started practice?
They sort of wrapped up fall practice with the fall World Series a couple of weeks ago, but of course they're still in the cage hitting and working out and in the weight room and all that kind of stuff. So I think Tony Skoll is pretty excited. A lot of the guys are having to make changes in their swing and their approach to practice. So there's definitely a transition period that's going on right now. But I think once February rolls around, those guys are going to be eager to hit the field.
Right. And
Louisville's coming to town the first weekend of the season. Dan McDonald, former Citadel great. So it's going to be a fun way to start the season.
Awesome. Well, we're excited for that as well. We're also excited. We have Brent Thompson coming on the show today. We're going to talk about the future of Citadel football, what he and his staff are doing in the offseason, how their progress of recruiting is going. Do you have any news on how the recruiting is going before we talk to Coach? Just want to give us a little rundown real quick.
There's 5 or 6 commitments. I can't name them off the top of my head right now. There's probably a few more that I don't know about. The question to me is, are they going to sign anybody next week? December 20th is now the early signing date. So if they can lock up some of these guys, because sometimes the Citadel will lose a kid to a bigger or a different program late in the process.
Right.
So if they can lock up a couple of these guys early, that would be great for Brent Thompson's peace of mind anyway, as they head toward the February signing date. So that's next Wednesday, December 20th. Is the early signing date, and we'll see if the Citadel announces any signings that day.
Awesome. Well, we're excited. I think, we still have momentum in the recruiting, I would believe. I know these coaching staff is going to do a good job. I know they've been on the road. Talked to Coach Boyd, trying to get together with him, for a dinner or so, and he said he's on the road for a little bit, but he says it's going to be dying down here. Sounds like right after that 20th signing day, he says, and he's got some time in Charleston, and he would love to meet up with me. And I live with Sam Farrar, who, me and him were his first guys when he got here. So,
do we have a minute before the break?
We do. We have.
I heard that your grandfather played for Bear Bryant.
My grandfather did play for Bear Bryant.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so he played for Bear Bryant, played football
there. What was his
name? Mine
put you on the spot.
Don Weaver. Don Weaver, Big Don, and he played at Kentucky back in the glory days, and I know I went up so actually, funny story, I went up two big schools I went to was Carolina and Kentucky, really big schools. And my uncle played football, college football, at a small school in West Virginia called Center, I believe. And his roommate, the center, was now the offensive line coach at the time for Kentucky.
Okay.
He's bouncing around a lot. He was at Kentucky, he went to Florida, he went, so big time schools. He was at USC, the real USC. So he's been bouncing around, but he was there at the time. So we went up, and I went up for a day camp and had a great time at the camp, and got his honest opinion of, hey, you're just too short. Great. But let me introduce you to all these other coaches who were there. And but at the same time, because my grandfather played there, they had a guy come out, and I got to hold the trophies for the Sugar Bowl and Cotton Bowl that my grandfather was a part of, as well as get to see the weight room and kind of the years that he played.
Did you ever
there.
hear any Bear Bryant stories?
Unfortunately, I was too young when my grandfather passed away. So I need to ask. That's a great question to ask my uncles and my dad to see if they have any stories. However, when I grew up, I was a late football guy. Like I didn't even know if I was going to try out for my 7th grade football team. My parents never forced me into anything. My uncles were like, hey, don't let him play football. Make him play golf. My dad's a professional golfer. So they were like, oh, let's play, get him to play golf. That's the long-term sports. My uncles all have, like, multiple knee surgeries. And, the last day, I just was like, hey, I'm going to go play football. Just try it. I barely made the team. I could have swore I was going to get cut, 7th grade. Barely made the team. By the end of the year, I was the only player starting, and then 8th grade year just, continued just to take off. But, wasn't really into football growing up. I was always into the other sports. My parents did a great job of making me play all these different sports. So, but I haven't heard any Bear Bryant stories, but I know my family cherishes that my grandfather played for him. So,
that's huge.
And so he was part of some pretty awesome teams.
And I also heard that Doug made a hole-in-one at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, my dad played in 2 U.S. Opens, and he had his PGA card for 1 full year. And his name to fame is he's part of the 4 Aces at Oak Hill.
1989.
That 4 guys had a hole-in-one on the same hole in the same day within like 4 hours. My dad was the first one, so he started the movement, and that's
Jerry
never
Pate
happened.
And Nick Price and Mark Wiebe.
Yeah,
Mark were the 4.
Yep, you got it. I couldn't lift up, but those names sound right. But just some cool things, and he made both cuts at both U.S. Opens, which is awesome. And we actually, my 5th year, we have like a week off between session 1 and session 2. We were able to go up and play the 2 U.S. Open courses that he played, as well as Marion, which was just, he knew a guy up there, so we played. So we played some great golf up there, and it's just cool. He's got some great stories, and you have to bring them out. Like my dad won't just tell me like, oh, like we'll be watching golf, and he has all these stories about all these courses that he's played, and he won't tell you about it. Like you got to really egg it out, bring it out in him, and just he forgets about him too, but it's pretty cool. Like you'll just be sitting there randomly, and the story is we were at a golf tournament I was playing in, and we're just sitting in the clubhouse, and my dad's like, I'm going to be on TV in the next 15 minutes, I can guarantee you. And I'm like, why would you be on TV, And sure enough, the leaders started hitting that part of the course where that par 3 was, and they popped up the picture that's sitting in my living room, signed by everybody. And I'm like, that's you. And he's like, I told you. So we're going to take a quick break. We have Coach Thompson going to be calling us in the next minute, so we'll be right back.
Brent here. He should connect. Hold on. Yeah, now we're both on.
Coach Thompson?
Hey, Jeff, how are you?
I'm just sitting here with the great Kyle Weaver.
The great Kyle Weaver, no doubt.
Did you know Kyle Weaver's granddad?
Kyle, how we doing?
Doing well. How about
How's
yourself,
the golf
Coach?
game, Kyle?
You know, played my first 9 holes on Saturday. Finally got a Saturday where I got off at 1 o'clock. Went and played Sneed Farm, played the back 9. Hit the ball really well, and it was cold, but, you know, as true golfers, I was just happy to be out there, and I dressed appropriately, so it was a great time.
And shot even par.
No, I did not shoot even par, but I did have 3 birdies. But we won't mention what we won't mention what.
You had
We won't,
3 birdies and you couldn't get under par.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
you know, something ugly must have happened.
If you don't play golf routinely, Coach, you know it better than anybody. You know,
your dad changed my whole golf game.
Oh man, well, we got to get down there. Let's take a road trip and go down there one day for a day and get 36 in.
I'm all about it, man. All about it. Yeah, you got to take a little bit of a break too.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I need an excuse to go home. My mom would love me being home, and so we'll definitely have to set that up. But well, I know we have a lot of questions for you. I know it's a busy off season for you. You know, coming off this season, you got a young team in house, and then you're also trying to go out and fill some spots. And so, just give us your game plan for this off season, Coach.
Well, first of all, with our current roster, is we really need to get back to basics. We need to get back to fundamentals. We need to get back to doing what we do. We established our offense a little bit, and that was kind of tough last spring because we didn't have quite the offensive line to coach. We knew we were going to have to play some younger guys, so that was what made it a little bit more difficult. On the defensive side, it's going to be the same thing. We need to get back to just playing fundamental, sound football. We're going to replace some corners on the back end. We're going to replace Miles Pierce. So we really just need to kind of reteach both our offense and our defense, and then reteach our offense and defense fundamentals as well.
Brent,
right now, we're just going out here looking for the best players more than anything, just kind of the best guys that fit our system. Good, tough, solid football players. We'll probably end up signing about 18 to 20 guys. And, you know, we've got a couple spots to replace that are going to be key spots for us this year. I think the back end, we're going to have to take about 5 or 6 guys on the back end to replace all the spots that were left open.
Brent, I don't know if you're aware, there's some breaking news today. Coach Mike Ayers is retiring today at Wofford after 30 years in coaching football. I just wanted to get your reaction to Coach Ayers' departure. You guys had some great battles even in your brief time at the Citadel.
Well, I got a couple thoughts running through my mind. The first one was, what an outstanding career. He's done amazing things at Wofford. He went out on top. There's no doubt about it. I think it's always been a challenge to play those guys. We've had some great battles, and unfortunately, I think I'm going to miss those battles more than anything now that he's retired. But I understand exactly where he's coming from, and you know what? To be honest with you, is I hope to someday have as good a career as he did.
Yeah, getting back to your team a little bit, you said a couple of weeks ago that you were going to move Brandon Rainey from fullback back to quarterback. Can you talk about your thinking there in making that move?
Yeah, you know, Brendan did a great job for us at D-back. He did exactly what we asked him to do. And really, he just kind of bought me some time at D-back to get some of those other guys ready. Now he's got to be able to redevelop himself as a quarterback, put a little bit of the pressure, upper-class pressure on Jordan Black at this time, and then give us a little bit of security in case anything does happen to Jordan. So I think it's the right move. It's a smart move. We're still going to develop Ryan McCarthy back there. We're still going to give him some reps. Take a little bit of the reps and stress off of Jordan in the spring, like we get Dom usually, to try to get some of our younger guys developed.
Do you expect Evan McField to be full go for spring practice at fullback?
No.
Okay. So what will your depth look like? Your depth chart look like there at fullback in the spring?
We'll have Brandon Berry there still. We'll have Lorenzo Ward still there. And then from there, we're going to probably have a couple of other pieces. We've got some other guys that are younger guys that we've redshirted. And Matthew Taylor would be one guy that I think he was an A-back. We're going to move him back to B-back. So we're going to have an opportunity to be able to look and see what some of those younger guys can do and give us a good solid 3 or 4 deep there.
Okay. Kyle?
you know.
Well, Brent, do you plan to sign anybody next week? Do you think that might happen?
No, we've got a few guys that are verbally committed to us, but I don't think that we're going to sign anybody next week. We didn't make a great big push for it.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really sit right with the way that our official weekend set up, our official visit weekends, because we really played, and then we had Thanksgiving, and then we came back, and our players were kind of bogged down with finals and prep for that. So we decided to kick everything to January, and especially for this first year, see how everything sorts out, trickles down, and see what happens.
Yeah, because at the Citadel, those campus visits are so key to the way you guys recruit, and it's hard to move those up.
Yeah.
It's hard to move those up before December 20th, isn't it?
It is. We talked about it. We talked about it as a staff. We talked about it, and it just didn't seem like it was going to work. I'll take a look at it and reevaluate it next year to see if it's going to work out any better for us.
Okay. Spring practice starts February 13th, somewhere in there?
I believe it's February the 8th.
Okay, February the 8th.
It's the day after signing day.
And what are sort of your goals for spring practice? What would you like to see get done?
I'd like to see us just really line down and get a little bit better and kind of reestablish our edge, get back to our base fundamentals of being able to run the football, the run blocks, being able to stop the run, being able to do a little bit better job of tackling. I think our tackling fundamentals kind of waned off a little bit towards the end of last year. And we just need to get back to doing what we do and not worry about anybody else at this point.
Do you expect a competition at quarterback, or is Jordan Black pretty clearly the starter going into spring?
Wow.
How do you view that?
I always expect competition at quarterback, and I know Brandon's a huge competitor, and that's why I want to give him plenty of reps and plenty of opportunities in the spring to do that. He's got a tall task in front of him because Jordan, and we feel comfortable with Jordan in the game. But the great thing about Brandon is he's actually played in the game as well, and he feels he knows the offense a lot better from playing feedback. So I think it'll be a good competition. Jordan's going to have a lot of pressure on him, and that's the way we like it, and especially at the quarterback spot.
So let's talk about the offensive line. Do you think those are going to be the same setup for next year? I know you moved Drew out to tackle. Will you keep him at tackle, or are you going to put him back at guard to put some competition there, or what's your thoughts there?
Well, I'll start with the tackle spot. I like our tackles right now. We've got good depth there. We've got 4 guys that I think I could play at any moment, and I've got good competition at the tackle spot. The guard spot is a little one that we're going to kind of bolster up a little bit. We're going to cross-train now that Hayden Haas is. We can take the red shirt off of him. He kind of played mostly center, and we're going to do something that we did, as you know, Kyle, that we did with Tyler Davis, and that's move Hayden to guard a little bit, get him a little bit of guard reps, and put a little bit of pressure on those 2 younger guards, and as well give us a little bit of security behind Tyler at center.
Okay. All right. I mean, that sounds good. Coach Boyd's got a good spring practice ahead of him. I know he's amped up and ready to go to get those guys rolling again. That's for sure.
And Brent,
I tell you what, Kyle, is we're excited to get back to spring ball. As obviously we didn't finish the season like we wanted to, and we're excited to get back coaching and get back. And I feel great that we've got some guys that we can coach and guys that we can develop. And I love the younger roster at this point.
on looking at the defensive side, I guess Miles Pierce is the biggest loss as among your seniors on defense. Who's going to step up for Miles?
Well, Willie Eubanks has done a great job. I think Willie's going to be one of those guys. He's already stepped up as a young freshman leader. We're expecting a lot out of him, and we still got Noah Dawkins back there. So we still got 2 really good, high-quality linebackers that are still developing. They're still fairly young, and Noah played the position, but he only played it really for 1 year. So he's still got more developing to go, and same thing with Willie. He's going to get bigger and stronger throughout the offseason.
We're talking with Citadel football coach Brent Thompson about the Bulldogs offseason after a 5-6 record this year. And Brent, there's some news regarding your old boss, Mike Houston, signed a 10-year extension with JMU. Have you talked to Mike about that decision?
No, I left Coach alone, really for the playoffs, because I know he's extremely dialed into the playoffs right now. I won't probably catch up with him until it's all over. Maybe I'll catch up with him at the convention. But, I kind of leave him alone. I know he's probably a little bit uptight right now and gearing up for what's going to be a really good matchup. I'm looking forward to watching him play South Dakota State this week.
Well, I think one reason he wanted it announced this week was to clear the decks of any potential distractions, because his name will come up in a lot of coaching searches at this time of year. And So now that's been taken care of, and he and JMU are committed to each other for the next 10 years. And what a fantastic job he's done at JMU, 27-1.
Absolutely, and he's well deserving of it, and he's done a great job there. But I think on his end, I think that was the right decision. He's at one of those places. He's got a great job up there. They're very, very well supported up there. They're doing a great job, and as I say, it's one of those jobs where you should be able to compete for the national championship every year, which is awesome.
Yep.
And hopefully for us, they'll go up a division, and them and North Dakota State will move up with their funds and facilities, and we'll start dominating the FCS with this young team that you got, Coach.
We're going to have our day here. There's no doubt about it.
Yes, sir.
So, Brent, what's the schedule like? When do you get off the road, you and your guys get off the road for Christmas?
We will all, we're going to all travel back Friday. We're going to meet on Saturday and Monday and Tuesday and kind of hammer out all of our recruiting, get everything set for our weekends, because there's a little bit of a layoff here all the way till after the convention's over in January. So we want to make sure that we have everything well organized. We've got a deep working list that we can kind of move some key parts around to it. And then as soon as we get back on the road, and then we've got an official visit the next weekend. So we've got to move quickly once January hits.
All right. Well, Brent, we appreciate you joining us from the road and wish you good luck and safe travels. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. I enjoyed being on the long GrayLine. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Coach. And we're going to wrap up the show right now. So we appreciate Coach Thompson joining us today. And we will see you guys next year for another exciting season of Citadel football as well as the Citadel GrayLine. So thank you for joining us this year. Thank you for your support. Thank you for everybody who made this show great. And thank you for Jeff for joining us week in and week out. So thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Enjoyed it.